to Empowerment Radio, where we're talking about breakthrough solutions for everyday challenges. I'm your host, Dr. Friedemann Schaub. And before I forget again, which I tend to do, I'm just going to give you my website about services, webinars that are starting, books and products. If you're interested in all of this, you can go to the Fear and Anxiety Solution, the Fear and Anxiety Solution, that's all in one word, .com. Well, today we are tackling a problem that I think a lot of us are facing, and most of us are facing this problem on their own. Some even are a little ashamed of it, don't want to talk about it, feel weak about it. But then on the other hand, it's a problem that we are actually not alone with. And that is a problem with sleeping, insomnia. Did you know that 40 million Americans are struggling with insomnia? And the numbers are probably daily right now increasing, considering the kind of tumultuous situations we are in. Now, insomnia can be defined as something as laying awake when you actually want to fall asleep and you just toss and turn around and you feel like that you just cannot relax, you cannot really find peace, or you're falling asleep fine, but then after a couple of hours you're waking up and you're feeling that somehow you cannot go back. Maybe you had to go to the bathroom. Maybe there was a sound that was waking you up, or maybe it's just always at the same time, 3:15, that your body wakes you up and it keeps you up. So it really feels for many not only as a maybe once in a while problem, but as a daily problem, something they're struggling over and over with. And of course, we need sleep. Sleep is just like food and water, incredibly important to us. Sleep is getting us into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is all about healing, digesting, rejuvenating. Sleep is important for our immune system. And sleep is also important when it comes to our nervous system releasing and dumping stuff that it no longer needs, or working through issues that may just on a subconscious level not have been addressed. The dreams and the sleep are crucial for all of that. So it is in many ways something that is vital and just a very important part of life. Now, let's be honest. When you're thinking about your sleeping habits and you compare them to your workout habits or your nutritional habits, what are you paying more attention to? Or maybe at work, how committed are you to certain routines and being at your best and doing things exactly the right way? And when it comes to sleeping, you're kind of taking it for granted, or you're just maybe taking just some medication, or have that extra glass of wine or bourbon that then makes you fall asleep. All of those things are almost as if sleep isn't that important because, yeah, we are not doing really anything, right? We are not producing anything. We are not engaging. We are just like vegetables. But then again, sleep is such a productive and important time. So let's have a look at the do's and the don'ts when it comes to sleeping. Let's have a look why more and more people have a hard time going to bed and having a good night's rest, and what can we do to overcome insomnia, what we can do to really deal with this problem so that we do get enough rest. Now, on average, we should sleep 7.5 to 9 hours, which for many of you may be like, well, I haven't done this since I was a teenager, but this is what our body needs, and anything less is certainly not healthy. Same thing with going to bed late. There are studies that show that going to bed before midnight in many ways is more restful and rejuvenating, probably also because, well, 6, 7 o'clock, usually the noise starts, the garbage truck comes by, and then we are not as deep in a restful place as at 3 o'clock in the morning. Certain things certainly can help for us to get a better night's sleep. Now, I'm curious. I'm curious about your problems with sleeping. and also what you have found doesn't work or does work for you, because empowerment radio is also about helping each other. We are often facing exactly the same challenges, and therefore is great if we can share the insights that we have gained as we have been learning to overcome them. Call in 888 418 6890. Again, 888 418 6890. Or you can use the chat box at transformationtalkradio.com. Now, I personally certainly had sleeping issues, and they started for me when I was going into high school. Before high school, I was more like a happy-go-lucky kid who just was winging it in school, and I didn't take things too serious. I had much more fun playing in the woods with my friends, and all of a sudden the seriousness of life just was staring in my face, and I didn't know how to handle it. Certainly didn't help that my parents had high expectations. Well, actually, they had lower expectations. They thought that I wasn't super smart, and that's why they were putting more pressure on me. And of course, in some level, I believed them, and I put a lot of pressure on myself. At some point, every time when a test was approaching, I just couldn't fall asleep. I was just laying awake, and like most of us, then when you cannot sleep, you're already thinking about the next day. You're wondering what's going to happen. I don't have the energy. I'm going to be tired. I'm going to, not be good in school. I'm going to not be good at work. And so you already think about the what ifs and the negative effects of not sleeping. And of course, that creates more stress, more anxiety, and pushes the sleep further out. Now, my parents gave me some herbal remedies that sometimes helped, sometimes they didn't. But there was one thing that really helped me the most, which was my cat, Lumpy. Now, Lumpy was called Lumpy because Lumpy was about 30 pounds, looked like a lump, didn't move a lot, and the moment you put Lumpy somewhere, Lumpy could sleep off. It was just amazing. It was just watching sleeping happening by the master. And so I took Lumpy out of the basement where he usually slept and brought him into bed, laid him down. Half a minute later, he was already snoring. And somehow the snoring, purring, that sound just really calmed me down and it made me nicely fall asleep. Now, I know not everyone has a Lumpy. Maybe not everyone likes cats. So that's why I want to share with you other cures, remedies, tricks, and ways to help you really heal that sleeping problem at the root. At the root, because there is a reason why we cannot sleep. This is not just something random. There are usually things that we do, that we think, that we believe that hold us back from letting go and falling into that slumber. And that's something that we're gonna look at closer. Now, here's a first question that someone was asking, and the question is, what about having a drink? David asked this question. What about having some alcohol before sleeping? That actually always seems to calm me down and make me feel better. Well, it's true that alcohol is something that can help you to fall asleep. The problem with alcohol is that it also prevents you from having the dream phase, the REM phase, the rapid eye movement phase, where all this, crazy fancy stuff happens on a subconscious level. That's when we are able to fly, or we are, jumping off buildings, or we are running away from monsters. These metaphorical insights we can gain when we are analyzing our dreams, all of this falls by the wayside. So that's the reason why when people are mainly drinking and maybe excessively drinking, that alcoholics after a while are hallucinating because that REM phase has been missing. And so that what would have happened in the dream is now happening in the waking state. And so they're seeing, white elephants and white mice running around. That has something to do with that. But even if you're not excessively drinking, the lack of REM phase is really detrimental. They have found in rats that when they are, rats usually live 2 to 3 years, and when they were taking away the REM phase of a rat just waking it up right before it goes into that dream phase, the rats only lived for 5 weeks. So something happens in the dream that is life sustaining and incredibly important for our health and vitality. When we come back, we're going to discuss more about sleep and more about how to get to it. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Empowerment Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Friedemann, and we talk about sleep. By the way, a lot of people told me that they are sleeping very well with me. Now, what that means is that they have purchased the recording, the CD, self hypnosis, guided meditation CD that's called Be Free, Release Stress and Anxiety. And there is something about just listening to this recording, going through the guided meditation that makes people fall asleep in a very nice way. Now, they may just get bored with what I have to say, or maybe it's my hypnotic German accent. I don't know what it is, but it works. And that's the most important thing. So if you want to have a natural sleeping aid that is kind of massaging and soothing your mind, go to the fearandanxietysolution.com. Under bookstore, you can find that CD and you can download it directly to your computer and hopefully sleep with me as well in a very healthy and wholesome way. Now, we talked about the do's and don'ts that are important to look at, and I want to first really make you think about the brain, the mind, the nervous system a little bit differently. In some ways, we are in that interesting world where we are more aware of our physical limitations than we are really acknowledging our mental, emotional, psychological limitations. Because, our mind, our brain didn't really have enough time to evolve and basically keep step with everything that has been evolving the last 50 years. Technology is way faster in how it is just progressing and how it is demanding new things on us than we can really keep up with it. And we just have to acknowledge that there are certain limitations to our brain as well that we need to be mindful about. Let's say, for example, your body. Now, we know more about nutrition and we pay more attention to it than maybe 30 years ago. So if you would eat every night a double cheeseburger with large fries, you're probably going to get heartburn and you probably gain weight and all that, what comes with it, maybe diabetes, maybe some pains, maybe some heart disease. So you would say, no, that's not a good idea. Let's just focus more on salads and lean meat. Well, if you would work out your body really hard and you would say, well, I'm going to go to the gym 2 hours in the morning and then I'm going to run a half marathon in the evening, same thing. At some point, your body would also go and strike. You would feel maybe inflammation, tendinitis, arthritis coming up, maybe a ligament would tear, and you would say, okay, my body needs a rest. When do we ever give our minds rest? When do we ever say, you know what? Let's just give my brain a good time of doing nothing. Because nothing these days means sitting on your tablets or your phones and watching YouTube or going through Facebooks and social media and Instagram. And so it was interesting. I had some uh, teenagers at our house, and I watched them. First of all, they don't really interact that much with each other, which is fine. But then there is a constant staring at this little screen. Unless you really get them going and entertain them or get them to work, there is a constant bombardment with some information that goes into the mind, into the brain. And pretty much all of us are doing this. Now, the brain gets tired, it gets at some point overwhelmed, and what does it do? It just wants to have a rest. Maybe you start feeling drowsy, or you feel you cannot focus that much anymore, or you start yawning, and what do? Well, you go to the coffee machine and or to one of the coffee shops and you get a double espresso or you get one of those energizer drinks or you do the 5 hours energy package and boom, you're back in form. Well, what you're doing to your mind, what you're doing to your brain is pretty much you're pushing it to the brim of its capabilities. You're really adding so much stress. You're amping up the sympathetic nervous system that there's just not really a way to gently and slowly go into the parasympathetic, into the resting place. It's like you're overheating the engine and it just cannot cool down fast enough, which is why after a day where you pushed yourself hard, especially your brain, you just cannot really relax. It's a little bit like you're, at a rock concert and afterwards your ears are still ringing when you're in bed, even though it's quiet. Well, your whole mind, your whole nervous system is still vibrating from everything that you were demanding of it and everything that was bombarded at it, and it just cannot come to rest. Now you watch it laying in bed, and you're feeling like, well, what's wrong with me? I cannot sleep. Well, I have to sleep. Otherwise, tomorrow I cannot really perform again. And so that is again where your observation of not being able to sleep because your nervous system is just not really ready for it. It just has been running at 180 miles an hour and you're asking it to full stop. Well, it can't do this so easily. And so you're watching it, you're getting nervous about it, you're getting more anxious about it, you're getting more frustrated, and that creates, of course, more that insomnia. Now, besides doing what we just talked about, looking at tablets and phones and so on, other bad habits is just to scare your mind, to scare that part of us that takes everything literally. And that is when we are watching the most, maybe gruesome shows or the ones that are the most tense, or just watching the news. All of it right before bedtime shakes up your nervous system, gets you in fight and flight response, and certainly doesn't allow you to just relax because in that moment where your mind and your especially subconscious has registered all of this, it feels literally in mortal danger, and so it doesn't necessarily want to slow down because it needs to be out there vigilant on the watchtower looking for zombies that may enter any moment into your bedroom. And then there is also the good habit. I have to admit, I have to admit, I also work on stopping, which is checking your emails right before you go to bed. Why? There's nothing really you can do, and there's really nothing that you want to do, but somehow you're giving your brain, your mind, something to think about. And sometimes it may be a problem that you really cannot resolve, but the subconscious especially loves to resolve problems. It doesn't like to have things hanging over you. It doesn't feel comfortable with unaddressed issues. So it is basically thinking and working and trying to already, go through all these different scenarios. And of course, you feel like, well, my mind is racing. I don't know why. Well, the reason is because you pushed it, because you set this in motion and now your mind cannot stop. So having really a better routine, a better hygiene, a better nutritional feeding for your mind can make a huge difference where you just, and we're gonna after the break come more into this, where you just give yourself permission to at least an hour before you go to bed really focus on resting, focus on slowing down, focus on relaxing. That makes a huge difference. Now, one of the things a lot of people don't realize, your eyes may be closed. Maybe it's totally dark in the room, but your mind still is aware of everything that is in the room. How many of you are using the bedroom as a storage place? You just have boxes that you didn't get to unpack, old suitcases, the laundry is all over the place. Well, it's a place where nobody goes in besides you and your spouse, maybe, and so it's fine to put it all in there. Well, the mind registers everything and feels easily overwhelmed because everything draws attention to it. So when you are, for example, having all these books next to your desk that you definitely will not read or you haven't read, it's already unsettling. There is already something happening to your mind. If you have next to your bed a big alarm clock that stares at you all night long with the minutes just running down, that's not helping the mind because it gets also somehow not only distracted, it also gets stressed out about this. You want to have your bedroom a Zen sanctuary. You want to really have as little stuff as possible there because this is where your mind needs to have almost a vacuum of stimulation, a sensory deprivation, where it really just feels, okay, this is where I don't get bombarded, this is where I don't have to compute anything, and this is where I don't have to work. And this is why it's a really bad idea to have right in front of your bed a big TV hanging, which potentially is even running all night while you're sleeping. Because all the information, no matter if you put the sound on mute or not, it is still coming into your subconscious mind, and your subconscious still has to work through it. And I have tried it. I mean, especially, in my 20s, I was falling asleep in front of the TV on the couch the worst nights, and not because the couch wasn't comfortable. Last thing about the bedroom, make it nice and cool. Don't overheat it. We all know that. And get a good mattress. That is really, really important. Sometimes we're investing way more into the lazy boy or into our TV than into a good bed. But we are spending on average 7, 8, 9 hours there. Why not having the most comfortable and the best bed that you can imagine so that your body knows exactly this is a place where I want to just relax, lean back. This is my safe nest to rejuvenate and get ready for the next day. Now, what is the role of the subconscious mind in regards to insomnia and in regards to sleep? And what is actually the phobia, the hypnophobia that makes just the thought about the bedroom make our hair stand up and our heart pound? When we come back, we will talk all about that.